na 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 ra E-I-E-I-O. I do not know the lyrics in either la ha ha ha. Yeah, I know.
This is miserable.
The
I also
song
hate
from
the intro.
Really?
Yeah.
I love it. And yeah, I hate it too because they're mocking you. But the whole show is mocking you. It's like half the point. Hey there, TBD people. This week, continuing our great anime extravaganza extraordinaire, we are reviewing the unique Satoshi Kon anime series, Paranoia Agent. 13 24-minute episodes filled with more mind-bending insanity and what the hells than most people consume in a standard year, or even 200 episodes of a show like Bleach. So,
I don't even know why you would say them in the same breath, but whatever.
I mean, there's less mind-bending insanity in 200 episodes of Bleach.
No, that statement is true, but
I
mean, again, you're going back to apples and oranges here.
Yeah, I mean, I think that one actually goes all the way to apples and steak. Like, this is a different kingdom of nature. But yeah, so this is one of my favorite shows of all time. And just as a quick little like intro for the audience, Satoshi Kon is a venerable Japanese animator, most famous for Paranoia Agent, a film called Tokyo Godfathers, and a film called Paprika. He's all around incredible. Unfortunately, he died a few years ago of heart cancer, so we're not getting any more work from him. But this is one of my most treasured pieces. He plays with interesting concepts of the human mind and mass consciousness in all of his pieces. Paprika is a film that's about mass consciousness and dreams and the internet. And Paranoia Agent is a film about mass consciousness and lies and fear. And the effects that lies and fear can have on the human mass consciousness. It's probably redundant, but I just finished watching Paranoia Agent. All of it, back to back, with all the intros and outros intact and in place. Which I do believe
all of them.
Oh, no, you can't. You gotta watch it all. There's like a specific like reality warping effect when you watch all of it that I find to be something incredibly unique. But regardless, so Etienne, I know this isn't one of your top favorite pieces.
I'd seen 2 episodes, and I knew that it was something that you loved, which is why I suggested it as kind of like a peace offering. Like, you come this way, I'll come this way.
You watch Akira, and yeah, no.
Yeah, and like I gotta say, I think you owe Akira a little bit of an apology.
Okay.
There's a lot of what the fuck elements and questions unanswered, and a lot of inferring of things that you have to do in this, kind of like you have to do in Akira. And I think you have much more knowledge and more experience of this rewatching than you did with Akira, and I think it kind of affected how you viewed the medium.
That is entirely possible. I'm curious because in my rewatchings, there haven't really been many unanswered questions.
For sure.
Like, pretty much every question has an answer. It's just finding where the hell they hid the answer.
I can definitely feel that. And again, I'm willing to admit that it's limited number of watchings. And there are things that are explained, but there are also things that are not explained. I mean, specifically with the ending. Like the manifestation of psychosis destroying Tokyo.
I mean, I don't know. You see the people, they show the people rioting. Like, they show the people rioting in a few of the cuts, and then it transforms into the black goop. I mean, I thought that was a pretty... You're right, it isn't ever directly said, but it's like, they show the riot, and then the next time they're showing the same thing, it's the black goop filling everything. And so that was always very much the way that I took that, was that people are psychologically experiencing it because of the whole mass consciousness hallucinogenic effect.
Right.
As, oh god, these like columns of black awfulness like exploding through the city and washing people away. But that it basically just being like a mass riot. The Moromi riots. Fucking horrible idea. But
it's
that is, you make a very good point on that one.
The blending of reality and imaginary, which is something that Satoshi Kon played with a lot.
Yeah.
And that line not being as distinct at points. That's all I was going with. And I don't...
Like,
I didn't come away hating the series. I enjoyed it. I thought it was intriguing. A lot of the things that are brought up, the themes, the points that it makes, wonderful. I don't have a problem with that at all. It was just interesting watching that and watching Akira before that for podcast and getting some sort of similarities from things.
There are
your
a lot of
reaction
similarities
to Akira versus your reaction to this. That's all I was going on.
No. And again, on this rewatch, actually, as I was saying, there are not a lot of things that aren't addressed. There is one glaring thing that stood out to me on this rewatch of something where I'm like, I haven't ever found an answer for why that happens, which is why, I mean, it makes sense thematically, but they don't actually directly explain the mass consciousness effect, which is more explained in Paprika because they have the dream machine that's
right.
like connecting people. But if we're assuming that just simply the mass consciousness manifestation is affecting people this strongly,
right?
That's what it is. But they don't actually ever address that. And the other thing being when the fat cop enters his dream world, when he comes out of the bar with the former thief. The former thief is the one who gets him into the dream world, and that's not explained that I was able to find. And so that was something that actually irked me quite a bit on this watch through, of being like, okay, crap, that's a detail that they never actually explained. A bunch of it for me, again, I really, really, really wish I could find the fucking annotated version, because even things like the fox imagery all the way through it, which I think reinforces the final idea of the black goop and everything else just being a riot. The Lil Slugger is the golden fox. And
right.
The fox in Japanese mythology is this entrancing creature that once you look into its eyes, it steals your soul and it pulls you back to its den. And devours you. And that's like what it does to all of the different characters, the fear and the lying to oneself and the lying to the world. And like all kinds of like, there's that kind of like mythological imagery that explains a lot of the things that aren't otherwise dealt with. But it's you make a good, I've said it like 3 times now, but you make a good point, and I should go back through with that same understanding of like, okay, watch this again with fresh eyes. But like when I did watch it with fresh eyes, I obviously had questions, but it felt like a lot more had been answered in it than had been answered in Akira. But obviously the piece
I'm
was
not necessarily
very much
disagreeing. I also think there's a lot more to glean from multiple watchings of it. Like the old guy, the prophet, the sage, like definitely watching stuff with him the second time around, it's a lot more clear what's going on.
Yep.
Like I definitely got, okay, this is important from the very first shot when Seiji's in the bus and like they're looking at each other and he's scribbling. Like that is something that you're clearly like supposed to take note of.
Yeah.
But there was other stuff like when he's drawing inside the hospital and it's all the different animals and everything.
Yeah.
I kind of brushed that off as incoherent like rambling stuff at that point, but it's not.
Yeah.
Like it's all connected to like, you know, the animal is a symbolism for somebody in the show. So like I'm not putting anything that like I don't fully grasp on the show. I'm putting it more on me. I was just saying I thought there were again some parallels.
No, and there's definitely a fun parallel to that idea of having that.
I don't want to dwell, on this versus Akira. They're different at the end of the day.
Yeah, very much.
It was just like watching this versus watching that, and your qualms with Akira. It was in my head.
No, and it was a funny kind of reciprocation there of it's like, okay, we watch Akira, which was your choice, and me being like, okay, for show. And then we watch this one, which was my choice, and you're like, okay, for show. And we both had similar issues narratively with the pieces. And I think that the comparison makes a lot of sense, especially considering the thematic stuff and the bending of reality.
Well, yeah, and also the cycle stuff that they do at the end.
Yeah.
Like, there's definitely a cycle in Akira, and there's definitely a cycle in Paranoia Agent.
Yeah, that perfectly reconnects with the beginning of the show, because the whole fucking thing is a donut-shaped helix that, like, connects to itself and constantly spins around and never actually takes you to the end. And that, I thought, was fascinatingly well done.
Yeah, when you have the Sages switch and you're like, oh my god,
oh my son of a bitch. Which, I can't remember the thin cop's name. The one who fucks up. Maniwa, yeah. Which is just, for me, one of the saddest things, is that he is the one who actually figures out what it is intellectually. But
he goes off the deep end in the process.
Yeah, and he believes he still is playing the game. He's actually believing the lie, even though he's the one who figured out it was a lie.
Right.
He still believes it's real instead of going, no, it's not real. Which is why the triumph of the fat cop, when he has that final moment, like, oh my god, I broke down crying this time, watching that scene. And it's not the first time it's happened. But, like, with the whole deal where he actually relives the entire process with, like, Cancer Wife.
Yeah.
And, like, the whole nine, where it's literally her final act on the planet is her reaching him and being like, you helped me know that I had to keep fighting and accept reality. And now I'm returning it. And that amazing, like, just coming out of that and destroying everything he wants. With his bare hands and a baseball bat and nothing but rage is so fucking beautiful. Like, I'm crying again now, talking about it. And that, I think, is why at the end of the show, they're the two characters who you see again, is the cop and Tsukiko.
Yeah.
Because
you also see this goddamn reporter, too.
Yes.
Which, fuck that
and
guy.
You see a couple, yeah, fuck that guy. You see, actually, I'm sorry, you see a couple of other people right there at the end, but they're the two who actually look somewhat content, and are also the only two who ever accepted reality, and all of the others have gone straight back to the lies at the beginning, which is just such a beautiful bookend for the film, is those two moments. And I'm sad that you don't actually get to see the number that Maniwa draws at the end. Though, honestly, probably...
It's one of those things, I mean, the cycle begins again, so it's whoever it's going to next.
It's going to the next one.
And, so, like, this chapter is done.
It's going to be 510. Because it all starts over again at 510. And just the gorgeous integration of theme and visuals in this is something that always gets to me, and the soundtrack is something else entirely, which I'll get to. And yeah, I always love Satoshi Kon's soundtracks. He works with, like, a specific group of composers, but the way that they're able to fold in the, like, delicate menace throughout so many elements of the film that wouldn't normally be menacing, like Moromi. All of the moments of Moromi looking at people and them having a second where they're looking at the doll.
I don't know. I always kind of thought of Moromi as being creepy. You've also said film like 4 times, and it's a TV series. But
oh, I'm sorry. I only ever watch it as a film. I watch it all in a row in the, like, 4-hour break.
It's just funny to me because I looked up some stuff, like, specifically. I mean, this being Satoshi Kon's transition from film to TV, and that a lot of the ideas for the show Paranoia Agent were scraps that he wasn't using from, like, previous films that he'd done that he constructed the series out of.
Nice. I didn't know that.
Which is why it's got more of the episodic feel, and it passes main character from character to character throughout the show.
And there's people who you think are going to be super important also, at the beginning who aren't.
Right. Like Ichi the Killer never comes back.
Oh, he
I'm
does.
sorry.
There's a couple of scenes.
No, I know, but like...
And I always liked the fact that he's like way less of a schmuck at the end.
Well, he went... The whole thing with the whole encounter with Shonen Bat or Little Slugger or whatever the fuck you want to call him. Fox, if it's the actual incarnation.
Yeah. The Fox.
Like, the whole point is, like, there is something positive that comes out of it 90% of the time. It's what people want, for better or for worse.
Yeah.
I mean, there's the whole point about, like, stuff when Shonen Bat becomes violent at the ends. It's more about, like, this is what you wanted.
Yeah.
Like, the whole suicide stuff.
It's because they don't actually want to die, which is why...
Well,
Shonen
I wasn't
Bat
talking about
runs
that episode.
Oh.
But yeah, like the first one, like, with Fox in the cell.
Yeah.
Like, that and, like, the whole bit when Ikari's wife is, like, basically talking... laughing in the face of death, being like, "Nah, fuck you. I thought this is what I wanted, but I don't. Get the fuck out of my home.
I'm gonna get my operation. You can blow me. I'm gonna sit here in my wrecked ass house that I wrecked myself." Like, so good. The reality distortion of that. Of the, nope, these people actually just hurt themselves. Ichi just picked up a pipe and beat himself in the dome with it. But you're right, like, pretty much everyone comes out of it with something, even if it's something that hurts them, but it gives them what they need in that moment.
There's the repeated thing about the feeling, like, the victims have a feeling of relief afterwards.
Yes. Because the burden has been taken off of them because it's somebody else's fault or someone else has to deal with it. And the one that hurts me, that always breaks my well, the two that break my heart are Double Lips, the whole one with Romy, and her whole plot line, and then Pedophile and his daughter.
Yeah, Hirakawa.
Yeah, Hirakawa. Who...
And Taeko.
Yeah, Taeko. Who... She gets what she wants, which is to not remember.
Right.
But...
She is by no means a whole person anymore.
No. She is damaged. She is left broken. And...
Captain Kirk. Hirakawa.
Rapist. Thank you. Child rapist. Hirakawa.
He doesn't actually rape children. I'm not saying that he's not reprehensible.
It's heavily implied that he rapes the girl when he breaks into the house on the drugs.
Okay. I need to go back and watch that again.
Because the scenes where you see him with the prostitutes, the daddy thing is a really specific deal, and it is something that he says while initiating sex.
I understand that fetish.
And he says it to the little girl, and then it cuts to outside, and you hear her screaming. And Satoshi Kon, thank Christ, is actually not a fan of showing those kinds of things on screen. So, like, even the sequence where Taeko has discovered Hirakawa's, like, cam footage of her undressing, you don't see that. Right. And I was very much like, thank you for not having that be something I have to see in this fucking piece. But you're right. Other than that, he never actually acts on this.
Right. And again, I'm not defending the character. Character is totally fucking reprehensible.
He is the worst fucking person.
He has distinct and fucked up fetishes. I just, like, where the line is crossed and where it's not is all I was talking about.
And it is an important question because, I mean, again, as with all the other people, they are being pushed to their worst possible selves and are looking for a way out.
Right.
But that, of all of the things in the film, always leaves me the saddest because at the end of it, Taeko has simply lost.
Right.
And Hirakawa has not lost anything. I mean, he's lost his home, but he is publicly a hero and has his daughter back.
he's still mentally damaged by the fact that he knows that he fucked up his daughter.
Yes. Well,
there's that. I'm not saying that he totally deserves that.
Yes.
But I wouldn't say that's necessarily him coming out on top.
No, but it is what he wanted the most.
Yes,
but it is what he wanted the most. Back again. At the end there. And again, everybody gets what they want the most in that moment, even if it's not the way that they want it. Kind of a fun little Something Wicked This Way Comes, Mr. Dark's Fantastic Circus of Oddities type deal. Yes, I'll give you what you want. You'll be the most beautiful woman, but you'll be blind. Are you familiar with the piece?
Yes, I am. I'm also familiar with the Rick and Morty parody.
I didn't know Rick and Morty did a parody?
Where there's the devil and he has a shop and like everything that he has is for free, but there's a price. But like you don't know what the price is. You didn't see that episode?
No.
For sure. Yeah, there's totally a Rick and Morty episode.
Wow, that's fucking fantastic, because that's one of my favorite books, and I love the film adaptation.
I have not seen the film adaptation. I started trying to read the book and could not make it through, probably because it was done scholastically, and I just didn't want to do that.
Yeah.
And I think we've talked about that before. We may have even talked about it on the podcast. Like, it's unfortunate the way that scholastic reading both turns people on to stuff and turns people off of stuff completely.
Yeah. And that makes a lot of sense. If I'd had to read it for school, I probably would have been like, what the hell? What, literally, like, seriously, kid, what the hell? But, my pops read it to us when we were kids. And we watched the film version, which I had, like, serious problems watching the first few times, because too spoopy, 5 me. You know, that kind of theme runs through it, of giving people what they want, but not what they actually need. The temporary fix is always a delusion.
Right.
Which is the whole base point of it, is that, like, sure you can lie, and it makes things easier, but every lie adds onto it and sends out a whole new ripple of negative effects on people that then they lie to cover, and then those send out negative effects that then they lie to cover, and it's that avalanche effect of everything turning into Moromi riots, because we all want Moromi.
I did love the whole, I mean, again, the whole thing with Seiji in the final confrontation, like realizing, you know, what the deal has been since your childhood. It's been 10 years. You better remember the damn dog, you fucking piece of shit.
Jackass!
But yeah, the little lie to, like, getting relief, to, like, realizing, no, I have to confront this, which is so much of what the show ends up becoming. And I love that the whole interplay, I mean, you already discussed it loosely, the whole thing with Hikari.
Yeah. Where she wants the nice father, like, hangout buddy, and he wants a child in this quiet life. And you have that whole creepy thing where they're, like, role-playing the father and the daughter. Not the way Hirakawa does, thank you, God. But having that whole weird thing, which it's the one moment, or there's 2 moments where I like the American dub better than the subbed version on it, specifically being the, what are you talking about, Dad? Since when are you my daughter? Right before the triumph of the fat cop and he smashes everything. And the moment where Moromi is crawling all over the kid in the animated episode and is saying, take a rest, over and over again, in the Japanese, it's literally just, take a rest, take a rest, take a rest. Like, it sounds like they just looped the audio of the single line. And in the English dub, it's like this creepy, like, take a rest, take a rest, take a rest. Take a rest.
There's the like, variant, so it feels real.
Yeah.
I shortly before we did this, like, I did the entire run of it in Japanese with subs, and then I did, like, a little bit of an English today to get that variance, and, like, I really don't like a lot of the lines that they changed.
Yeah.
And, like, some of the voice acting's pretty decent, but, like, most of the, like, third-party characters are shit.
Yeah, like, are just bad.
But yeah, there was little stuff like the Moromi and like I didn't get to that part obviously, but the whole interplay with Seiji, I enjoyed Moromi in that.
Yeah.
Which also, I mean, given the end, makes a hell of a lot more sense just going back and seeing those first couple of episodes.
Yep. And exactly what the fucking deal is
like,
there.
You don't need to remember. Stop thinking about it.
Stop thinking, Tsukiko. No. You can't tell me what the fuck to do. No. Also, just all of the fucking people with various different dissociative disorders.
That's something I was thinking. Like, I got to episode 3 and I was like, this is just a giant allegory for, like, mental health issues. Like, take care of your mental health. And, like, there is a large part of that, but I would say it's a lot more than that.
It is a lot more than that, but I think that it is a running theme of the thing where there are all these people who aren't taking care of their mental health, and the lies and the stresses of their situations are pushing them to the breaking point, like Hiromi, which still, like, that whole story sucks, because it is the, like, worst case scenario for somebody with dissociative identity disorder. For those of you out there who don't keep abreast of the current psychological guidelines ruling thing, I don't remember what the fucking abbreviation is, but the new big list of what everything's called, multiple personality disorder, which is now technically referred to as dissociative identity disorder. Just little explanation for what we're talking about. It's like the worst case scenario of that, where you have the alternate identity who is directly working against you.
Right.
Because it doesn't like you.
Well, and the shitty thing, too, is she has that whole interplay of, like, okay, you know, I'm receding, I just want to have fun, like, you get your life in order, and, like, I'll go away. And she tries to get her life in order, and everything goes off the deep end the other way.
Well, because, I think that Maria lied to the therapist.
Quite possibly.
Like, that's always the way I interpreted it, was because the next message is her going, did you really think I'd just leave?
Right.
Did you really think that was something like, fuck you?
But in terms of, like, interplay in your head, like, you know, like, okay, everything's getting better, and then, oh God, everything is terrible.
The exact opposite of getting better. I'm on my happy little date on the lake with my fiance, who
and
I don't
I'm being
know
called
super
for
well.
Prostitution.
This is really not ideal. Oh God.
Also, the amount of hats that she wore, even without the other personalities. I mean, being the tutor and the lab assistant.
And, like, everything else, like, and, like, kind of marrying the professor that, like, she's lab assistanting for. Like, her whole life is just so jacked up, dude. Also, I am so happy that Grandma gets back together with her granddaughter and is, like, cool. Like, that always, every time through, I'm like, yeah, Grandma gets hooked. Grandma doesn't get fucked over in this universe where nobody wins.
I think that's something, too. Like, the main other thing that I've seen of Satoshi Kon's is Tokyo Godfathers.
Word.
And, like, the prevalence of homelessness in Tokyo and people's willingness to shy away from it, where he embraces it.
Yeah.
And says that, hey, this is a reality. Hey, this is something that people go through. And, like, not shitting on the homeless, but, like, enfolding them into the story and making sure that they are aware of and they're taken care of.
And, and they're realistic as well, which is a big theme. And I think that he does that for a lot of, like, marginalized groups of people and for just realities of everyday life. Something as simple as, like, the whole episode of just musing on that's Ikari after he gets fired and he's working as the security guard. The first episode of that is entirely just exploring the phases of your life and, like, what you, like, the choices you make and where you end up, and how it's usually nowhere where you expected to be or where you originally wanted to be, but the, like, realities of that. And there's so much just, like, quiet exploration of everyday life in Satoshi Kon's work as a whole, but particularly, I think, Tokyo Godfathers and Paranoia Agent, which is so weird because Tokyo Godfathers doesn't do all the weird mind-bendy shit.
That's in, like, all of his other stuff.
Yeah. Well, the mind-bendy stuff is almost exclusively Paprika and
he's talked about merging like the reality with something that's abnormal and imaginative.
Yes.
As a theme of his work. So that's the only thing that I was referencing rather than direct mind bending.
No, true. Because the two that I know of that have like the direct mind bending are Paranoia Agent and Paprika, where it is like, aha, crazy. Wait, what? What? Why is it? Oh God, it's bendy now. Which again, just the beauty of that technique of knowing exactly just those little touches to twist it off the rails for you. And this is actually perfect time. I mentioned it earlier. The soundtrack, the tinkle 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 tinkle, like in the background,
which is also reminiscent of Akira.
Yes, it totally is, and that's I think the best elements of the Akira soundtrack get mirrored in that, and it's used throughout, and those little sound cues in the way that it twists you. And I think that that's very much inspired by Akira, like almost directly drawn, just with that little bit more of like a hip hop element to a bunch of it because of the era
definitely
when it came
like
out.
the attack scenes and stuff have a little bit more of that, especially in like the last episode I watched again because I was watching stuff in English was episode 2 with Ichi. Yeah, and like that definitely like the hip hop element is fairly on display in that episode.
Yeah, like you actually have like like record scratches and shit in the main track.
I feel so bad for Ushi.
Yeah,
like, he is one of the few like genuinely good people in the show, and he just got shit on.
Yeah, he gets assaulted.
Right, actual assault.
Yeah. He's one of the only people in the show who was actually assaulted by anyone instead of just hurting themselves and pretending it was somebody else. And spoiler alert, by the way, just for everyone. So. But
I don't know why that was the spoiler.
But you should still watch the show, and it'll be really interesting for you to discover all of the reasons why these people think they're being attacked. But so Ushi doing being one of the only people who actually gets assaulted and consistently trying to be a good person,
right,
and trying to help Ichi and being a friend to Ichi and being like, it's okay that you threatened me and assaulted me behind the school.
I understand that you're a malignant narcissist, but I don't understand that because we're children, but I'm trying to be a good person.
But I understand that you're mad because people are treating you bad, and I get mad when people treat me bad too, because they bullied me at my last school, and I'm here for you, Ichi. And he just consistently shits on this poor little kid. Though, I do have to say, I do love the point where it's like, oh yeah, they're like, I'll help you with your homework. Yeah, you should come over to my house tonight, Ushi. And like, the whole like, gaggle of girls giggles. And I was just like, Ushi stock rising. Ushi coming up in this world. Screwhead gonna kick all the butt. Ushi gonna kick all the butt. Except Ushi isn't obnoxious. That's
right.
Ichi is far more of a screwhead than Ushi will ever be.
Because it's all about Ichi. I mean, he doesn't really need his tutor. She's just an oasis for his heart.
Oh my God, I forgot that line until I hit it on the rewatch, and I actually fell over laughing. Like, at this little schmuck, and how far up his own ass he is. Like, but that's the thing, like, all of the characters, and you have them go on these, like, mean, petty little narcissistic rants about, like, how dare they, it's everyone against me. And it's that paranoia thing. You have the one side, which is the lie, the self-lie of, no, it's somebody else's fault, it can't be my fault, there's this enemy and I'm a victim. And that's Lil Slugger. And then you have Moromi, which is everything is totally fine and I can ignore all the problems. Right. And it's the two sides of the self-delusion, like, so perfectly expressed. And the two do argue with each other and cause cognitive dissonance, hence that final argument where for that final moment, it's all Moromi is even trying to help. Even though the right answer was not to run. The right answer was to turn around and walk directly into the exploding goop and face it.
Face which has been the greater message of the whole show.
Yeah, is turn and face the fucking lie. And stop it. Just stab it. Stab it. Stab. Oh, God. See, that's when you want Data there, because Data's going to look around and be like, it appears that some kind of mass hallucinogenic effect is affecting these riots. We must release knockout gas on a massive scale. Also, F-Meow, or whatever the fuck they name the new cartoon.
At the very end, yeah.
Yeah. Now that Tsukiko, I'm assuming Tsukiko has quit her job.
I would presume
so. That's the implication on that moment.
Because, again, it's like the next chapter. I mean, the other thing, too, is like, there were a whole bunch of other people waiting in the wings, so it could have been like she's still employed there, but like somebody else has risen to like the main stage on that. Somebody else's childhood psychosis is manifested
as a beloved children's show. That's very possible. And the other thing is she could have kept designing it, but it didn't have that like creepy superhuman zeitgeist effect that Moromi had. Which, like full on like Death Clock level shit. Like, what do you mean you're out of Moromi merch?
Right.
You're lying,
people
aren't
like
you?
Trying
You got
to
it
break
in the back, don't you? We'll kill you all.
Yeah, I was never like enthralled with Moromi. I didn't think it was cute. I was just like, okay, that's a thing. And then by like episode like 5 or 6, I was like, okay, the entire cast of characters, like, it doesn't change every episode, but like there are no more main characters. The only things that remain consistent are Shonen Bat / Little Slugger and Moromi.
Well, and the cops for the whole beginning of it. The
For
cops
the
and
beginning of it,
Tsukiko.
yeah.
Then there's the 3 episodes where they take the break, and it doesn't focus on, like, the main set. Because, like, the cops and Tsukiko are otherwise, like, the through line of it. Along with Lil Slugger and...
But it was when they transitioned away from it that I was like, okay, there is only Moromi and Little Slugger.
But, and you do have... And I do love those 3 episodes. Because the first time you're watching it, you're like... Wait, what? Why?
The 2 episodes that I'd seen were the one with the wives gossiping.
Nice, which is so good.
So, like, I thought it was more episodic because of that.
Okay.
And the other episode I'd seen was the meta episode where they're working at the anime production studio. And they're getting the Moromi, like, anime made and everything.
Yeah, and the dude is, like, killing everybody slowly because he can't fucking hack it like a little punk-ass bitch. God, I hate that guy. Like, I know that he's not anywhere near as deplorable of a person as Hirakawa is, but, like, I hate him almost as much as I hate fucking Hirakawa, because fuck that guy. It's not my fault. It is 110% your fault that you fell asleep on your Moromi doll instead of doing your fucking job.
And the fact that you didn't tell anybody that the fucking due date was today.
What? You're shitting me.
I'm done telling you to quit. I'm going to tell you to die.
Yeah. Well, that's funny. It makes me really happy that you actually, this was your first, like, watch through. Though I would definitely, I mean, you started another watch through almost immediately.
It wasn't of, like, an overwhelming desire to go back. I don't think it's bad by any means. I enjoyed it. I thought there was a lot of things that were intriguing about it. It was more we were doing this podcast and, like, with anime, I like to get both sides in terms of, like, how people are potentially experiencing it versus the sub and dub.
I definitely feel that.
And like I said, I mean, there's pros and cons, mostly cons with the dub. I mean, the fact that they don't really, like, tell you what half of the Japanese writing is.
Yeah.
And it, like, I don't like the lines that they changed. Like, the whole thing with Little Slugger at the end of the first episode, the changing "I'm home" to, like, "nice to see you again," I really did not like. I like the line "I'm home."
Yeah.
Especially, like, the whole through line of, like, wanting to belong is so much more present. You've got Ikari with home issues. You've got Hirakawa with his fucked up home dynamic.
Home. What is home?
Right.
It's the person who makes you feel home, and that's another thing that they talk about in the series. And that's like, yeah.
So having that thematic callback I thought was a lot better than, nice to see you again.
Yeah, I don't like a lot of the changes. Like, it's by no means a bad dub, but it's
far from being a good dub.
Yes. Well, and I just think that the original is so dramatically better and better composed. Question, since it was your first time through, when did you realize that it was all bullshit?
Probably the recap episode, honestly. The one when they're questioning Fox.
Okay.
I don't know if that's early. I don't know if that's late.
It's slightly earlier than most people figure it out.
But I was just like, okay, like there's enough here that's going on that's weird, and like it's interesting too. They pepper it, like there's the constant questioning of, you know, there's the reporter, like, did anything actually happen? There's the cops, did anything actually happen? Was there anybody there? There were no witnesses.
Specifically Fat Cop.
You think that these people are just being skeptics and they're being assholes, but no, like, it's a legitimate through line.
Yeah. Well, and again, that great line where it's like, we're going to have to split that bill for Korean barbecue, Chief, because there's they both ended up in certain ways being right.
Right.
Is that there was a wider effect at work than just Tsukiko fucking up.
Well, yeah, Ikari even said it, like, a couple different points that, like, he was older and he didn't really fucking get it. Like, he couldn't relate to the younger generation, which was a large part of his problem in dealing with what was going on with Seiji, what was going on with Fox when Fox was in the cell. Like,
but was able to, because they never would have gone back to talk to the old woman.
Right.
If Skinny Cop Maniwa hadn't actually
and that was the
gotten
other thing
through that whole questioning thing.
Is like, he was like, yeah, I don't understand the younger generation. Maniwa was like, I mean, I am part of the younger generation, so he was that bridge.
And Fat Cop literally goes, yeah, I know, and I don't get you. Like, but that's part of what's interesting is then you look at Maniwa doesn't know how to run interviews with the older people, and Fat Cop does. And that's, again, I know he's Ikari, but he'll always be Fat Cop to me. Like,
I'm not gonna lie, it does offend me that you're repeatedly calling him Fat Cop, especially with fucking Harukawa and, like, the despicableness of him.
Okay,
like,
Harukawa is
there's
actually
a line there, and
cop.
Like, I have a tough time being, like, unequivocally judging Ikari and being like, yeah, I like you as a character, because, like, there's enough of that back and forth of the, like, you are the, like, upstanding principal, you are, like, what is right and what needs to be done, but at the same time you are hypocritical, you go back on your word, and you essentially abandoned your wife for part of this.
Yeah.
Like,
but that's also his crisis moment. And you're absolutely right that there are, like, points in it where you're like, man, fuck you. Like, why can't you be more flexible here?
Yeah.
But that's, again, part of the point is that I don't think any character comes through the entire piece, except from maybe Taiko, without...
Ushi. Oh, sorry.
And Ushi. No, you're absolutely right, and Ushi. Without there being those realistically negative elements of their character, of both being likable and dislikable, both being good and bad.
Right, and that's the one thing I was going to say about Ikari is, like, I am conflicted about him, but that's in part because he is real enough that he has flaws.
Yeah.
Like, I like him for the most part, but again, he's got issues. Everybody's got issues. I mean, that's part of the whole fucking point of the show.
Yeah, and nobo's dealing with their psychological issues because there's a stigma about it.
And the one psychiatrist is an asshole.
I don't know that he's that bad. He is ineffective.
Yeah,
I'll call him that.
That's what I was meaning. He's an asshole.
Because, I mean, just the one, though I do love the one conversation where they're going along and, you know, it's like, oh yeah, I'm getting married, it's going to be super cool. And he's like, awesome. Have you told him? Like, I feel like this should have come up in sessions before now that you were going to marry a guy.
Right.
Have you told him? I mean, you really think that's necessary? And he stops walking and turns around and goes, if you live together, gonna be pretty hard to hide it.
Right.
And just kind of stares at her like, are you some kind of ass? Like, yes. I gonna turn into you, man. Which, unfortunately, happens later. And you don't get to see the aftermath of what that does. You know it fucks with the husband. Because, I mean, he's the first one who wanders out into the middle of the street and gets washed away by the black at the end. which was a detail I hadn't noticed on previous watchings.
I certainly didn't catch that this time.
Yeah, he's the very first one who, like, wanders out and he's, like, laughing hysterically and he says something and he gets washed away. And that's, again, the implication is that he's just had sex with Maria as opposed to Hiromi.
Right.
And you don't get to see the end point of that. And I don't even think that you get to see Hiromi during the final segment where they're dealing with some of the wrap-up. And, you know, you see Hirakawa and Taiko, and you see short hair Tsukiko, and you see crazy Maniwa. Poor Maniwa. He makes it so much worse before actually figuring out how to fucking make it better. Like, he's the reason everyone gets the crazy, like, oh god, Lil Slugger's supernatural thing, is he starts broadcasting a pirate radio program that's basically creepypasta that comes to life because of mass goddamn consciousness. Like, man,
the cause of and solution to.
Yeah. Though that's also something that I love is all of the solve it with a lie, but a lie caused it, so it doesn't solve anything. As well as, have you ever read, there's a somewhat famous classical play called La Ronde.
No, I haven't even heard of it.
It was very famous at the time it came out. It was late 19th century. Because it dealt very frankly with sex and male-female relations. And La Ronde is a series of, I believe, 12 scenes. And the first one is between a prostitute and a soldier. And each of the scenes, at some point, involve the two characters having sex. And then the aftermath of, like, the lead up to sex, and aftermath. And it fades to black for the sex, and then you have the two scenes on either side of it for each, like, segment. And each segment keeps one character from the old one. So the first one is prostitute soldier. Mm-hmm. The second one is like soldier barmaid. The third one is barmaid farmer. And it like goes all the way up through until you reach the Lord. And the final scene is Lord and prostitute. And it loops it back around to the beginning. And the final scene is also the only one that doesn't have a break for sex during it. Because the sex happens, that scene is entirely after the sex has happened. It's the two of them talking in the bedroom. And it's an incredibly interesting play, and I hadn't seen the parallels in design and concept to Paranoia Agent until this watch through, but that was a really interesting thing for me, being like, he directly utilized that idea of the, okay, here's a person from the previous episode, spin them out into this new episode that's tangentially related because of this, and thus builds up to Little Slugger. Pull that one next character and then form the next episode. Pull. And do that over and over again. And also the, like, helix form of it joining back to the beginning at the end. Which, I don't know if he actually had read La Ronde or was inspired by it or anything like that. Or if it was one of those Kurosawa making a movie that was literally King Lear without ever reading King Lear.
Right.
Peter can't speak because he's only slept a few hours in the last 2 days. So I would be interested to read up about that and see which side of that fell on. Because it is an otherwise, as far as I know, unknown narrative device. It's done in like one 19th century play and Paranoia Agent. Which, you know, I think that that's rare enough that there's probably a connection.
Yeah, I'm sure that there have been other things that have done that too. We just don't know them necessarily.
No, I know every play ever released in the last 900 years.
I am fully omniscient. You can suck my left nut. Anyways.
Yes.
So, but with having the multiple ideas of things that he had from things he'd previously worked on and wanting to implement them, and a TV show and having them be episodic, he'd talked about that whole baton pass structure.
Yeah.
I don't think it was directly related, but I don't know one way or another.
Makes sense even that he just was like, because it was, bunch of mini movies about these people. How do I connect them together? This, and this. And,
it's funny
beautiful.
too, because like I only was reading up about that after I'd seen the show, but like my first experiences with it were those 2 episodes of the wives gossiping and all the like little shorts, and then the meta episode with the anime team, and like those are very much episodic, strung together thematically, you know. All right, here's what's going on, but it's not really indicative of a greater whole.
No. Well, and also, funnily enough, those are probably the 3 most comedy relief heavy episodes. The meta one with the anime is way, way, way less comedic.
It's dark.
It's dark. There are still like comedic moments, as there are in many of the episodes, but they're few and far between. But the suicide episode and the housewives gossiping episode, which both are dark by concept.
Fucking end of the housewives one. Like, how did it happen? God. How did, your husband is literally dying. You fucking cunt. Like,
because the fucking production assistant assaulted him because he was overworked. And that's the next episode. Hey. Well, just that whole fucking, like, all of the characters in that episode are so unpleasant.
Oh, yeah.
And you feel bad for the wife until that final moment.
Right.
And it's like, wow, so fuck you too,
Secretly,
buddy.
You were the worst.
Like, flip the table and fuck all this. Also, what the fuck? The some of those stories in that episode.
I absolutely loved the first one, and that's actually why I think that episode stuck out to me the most when I originally seen the first 2.
With the equations in the bathroom.
The whole,
wolfing down handfuls of equations from
I
the
memorized
public bathroom
just
floor. Like, oh god, like the images of that. Also, just the slow pan up to Lil Slugger at the top of the stall and just like, ting, ting, when he taps it. Like, so fucking on point. That's another just fun little detail that afterwards it's like, oh, I thought he just killed himself. Which is actually a huge problem in Japan. They have an extremely high suicide rate.
Right.
And the most at-risk group are kids taking their entrance exams. Mm-hmm. Because if you fail your entrance exams, you just don't get to keep doing school. And you're like perma-fucked unemployment. So, and especially because of the like succeed, don't shame my family thing.
Right.
There is a huge problem with kids being like, well, I ain't passing my exams. It's better that I die than dishonor the family. And then they kill themselves. But that's become so commonplace by this point that people are like, oh, I thought he just killed himself. No, it was a little slugger. How horrible and titillating.
Right.
Like, all right, dear. I adore the incredibly stupid fucking one with the baby just having
that
a baseball bat in the womb, which I was just like, why?
You mixed up the sperm and the embryo. That's not even genetically related at all.
But also,
burn this. No one will know.
If you ever tell anyone, I'll kill you. And I'm like, Jesus, fertility doctor acting all kind of grim about this. But also just why the bat in the womb, which implies that the bat is a part of Will Slugger's anatomy, which I love. You know, even if it can be countered by a sword that belonged to a man who saw through
a sacred weapon.
Oh my god.
Which is also the bat that started it all.
Yeah, you know? Which also, just like, man, come on, Maniwa. Come on.
Well, the other thing with, like, Seiji's pops, like, when they go and finally talk to Seiji's pops, and he's like, yeah, like, I knew, like, I've known all along, and, like, yeah, he wasn't, like, being direct, he was trying to, like, have his daughter working it out in his own way, but with the amount that shit escalated, A, from that point, from that incident, and B, what is happening in current Tokyo, that is clearly and directly related to the original incident. Like, at some point, you need to speak up.
Well, though that's something where I don't know that he would have necessarily made the connection to the modern incident. Is, oh, there's some kid who has assaulted all these people. Well, it's not just my daughter saying that it's happening.
Right.
Okay.
I don't know.
That's crazy. That's
she
gotta
was
be
the
real.
original, like, re-incident. Is the only thing.
She was the universal remonster.
Thank you, Beck.
Through which all channels are possible. But no, yeah, you're right, and he probably should have made that leap, but I wouldn't necessarily make the leap that my daughter's unstable mental state was somehow affecting the mass consciousness of the entire nation and inciting them to riot and absurdity. But I do love, just how blunt he is with Maniwa when he's like, yeah, I've known fucking all along, but I also knew I was kind of a dick and kind of stern when she was a kid, and I was trying to not be a dick about this because I knew she was really upset, and I want her to beat herself up, so, yeah, you can have my baseball bat. All right, buddy, you go do your thing. I'll just sit here smoking on my porch out in the country somewhere. Oh, God. I love the subtlety as they go through the three different people who want to kill themselves and the, like, whys of it. So they never actually go into the little girl's why of it, other than that she doesn't want to be alone and she feels alone. The old dude wants to die because he has chronic illness and is fucking tired of it. But the young guy, Zebra, I'd forgotten about this until this rewatch. When they go off the cliff, the locket that falls off, that's him and another man.
Yep.
Which is majorly frowned on.
Right.
Especially, I mean, like, not as much now, but, I mean, again...
In a culture based on tradition and based on, like, marrying people off and family ties and family values, yes, that is something that is majorly seen as wrong and taboo.
Yes. And I have to rewatch for this thing, but I believe that his lover is the mob boss who tortures Hirakawa.
Huh. I would have to go back and look at that too, but that's an interesting callback because there's not really other attachment to him, and that would be passing the torch.
That's the baton pass. And there's also a baton pass right at the beginning of that one that I noticed this time, and I was like, cool, that's a baton pass. But I don't remember what the fuck it was.
In the chat, too. There's, like, the stuff with, like, Fox.
Yeah, Fox is the other
and finding out that
connector.
Fox is the imitation.
Yeah.
I'm gonna kill myself, but first I'm gonna take revenge on society by imitating Shonen Bat.
Yeah, that's stupid. I also like how when he, like, goes on that rant, all three of them are like, and just basically are like, I guess you do that, Fox, there, buddy, old pal. But that was definitely an interesting, all the stuff with that.
Yeah, I'm glad that they did pseudo come to the realization that they didn't actually want to kill themselves. Like,
pseudo.
It was so abundantly clear throughout the whole episode, like, oh, we could do it this way, but nah, that'll be messy, and like the dude jumping in front of the train would be like, okay, not that way.
Oh god. And I love it goes back to the Garrett quote from DS9. For a man who wants to kill himself, you seem surprisingly committed to living. Which, again, they're having a great time now that they're actually with each other. There's one other line there that I'm not sure about with Zebra. Particularly, there's an implication that he can see ghosts, but that's something else that I hadn't picked up on until this rewatch. So that's something that I gotta do another rewatch, like tomorrow.
The most obvious of scenarios.
I mean, it's the best. I mean, I'll do it tonight. I'll do it when we're done. I'm gonna get a whole bunch of ice cream. I got a free Frosty in Hollywood yesterday.
You son of a bitch! I've been wanting to go to a creamery.
Oh, dog! It was excellent. Security guard gave it to me because he told me that they were gonna kick me out because of how I was dressed. Never mind.
That is I want to just dress like shabbily, like, tear my clothes a little bit and walk around. I'm like, fuck yeah, free ice cream.
Well, I mean, I'd never had that happen before. He, like, stopped me at the door and was like, buddy, like, I just want to tell you, like, fair warning, they might ask me to kick you out because, like, they freak out about weird shit and you're dressed weird. I'm like, I'm just letting you know, like, I don't want to, but it might happen. And I was like, oh, cool, thanks. I'll keep walking. And he was like, I mean, you can go in. Like, I'm not saying you can't. They have me kick people out for random shit. And I was like, don't worry about it. I'm not trying to make your day harder. And he was just like, you want a Frosty? I'll buy you a Frosty. And I was like, sure. Nice, man. You can buy me a Frosty. It was dope. Free ice cream. Sorry.
Unfortunately, I work for assholes, but, like, you know, I don't want to be an asshole.
Yeah. It was his appreciation for me not being a dick about the whole dress code thing at a Wendy's.
Okay.
On Vermont. Like,
they have to get people coming in way the fuck worse shape than you.
Oh, probably. But
anyways, I think we've strayed far.
Yeah, sorry. This had nothing the fuck to do with Paranoia Agent, though I think that everybody in the cast might have been a little bit, or every one of the characters in the piece might have been better off if, in fact, someone had just given them all free Frosties and had sat them down and been like, so tell me about your problems.
Well, all of the characters definitely needed an actual therapist.
Yeah. Yeah. Severely. Except for the news reporter.
He needed a bullet in the brain. But.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, a serious ass kicking, like, put the boots to him medium style. Like, I very much like.
He looks like a man that has been beaten and has not changed in his ways.
No, okay, yeah, that's true.
I mean, they threaten him and he backs down and goes his own ways, like, you son of a bitch. But, like, I honestly, like, the way he acts to people, like, he must have gotten beat.
Yeah, that's true. Like, he does differ in those certain
situations. He's slimy, which, again, the imagery with the frog is wonderful.
Oh, my God. No, the cherry.
Yep.
Oh, God. He's just licking the fucking ice cream sundae at her.
And he drops a spoon, and he's like, oh, I'm going to check out up that skirt.
Like, makes that noise. Oh, my God, I hate him. Again, I don't hate him as much as I hate Hirakawa.
Yeah.
Or, like, punk-ass PA bitch. But, like...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, in the animation episode, douchebag who's like, I can't drive my car.
Right.
Nor can I follow basic schedules. Hey, I'm going to blame everyone else. It's not my fault that I fall asleep on the job every day, all day.
Some of you might even wonder how I got this job. I don't know. Fuck it.
I knew a guy who knew a guy who blew a guy, you know. It turns out I'm a
the
PA
guy that
now.
tried to kill himself. But, you know, whatever. Zebra's cool.
Hey, you know, Zebra's a decent guy. You know what I'm saying? He got me hooked up with this gig. I hook him up with the pills, you know, for his buddy. You know what I'm saying? That's a whole interesting... I still don't know. I can't remember. They had it in the annotated version. But I can't remember what it is about the girl's knees that inspire... There's like a specific image where the old guy looks at the little girl's knees, and that's when he has his, like, cardiac episode at the end.
Mm.
And there's a specific piece of symbolism for that based off of the newspaper rack at the beginning of the episode. And that's, again, why I wish I still had my annotated version, because there's shit like that that's, like, absurdly deeply buried, because Satoshi Kon was like, I'm going to stitch together this patchwork quilt. And guy knows what he's doing, but also can get Rembrandtian in complexity and Dali-ish in absurdity. So, and weirdness. Now, in closing, I'm glad to have had you with me, Samwise Gamgee.
You've been using this for like the last week. It's like every time you've seen anybody, you're like, yeah, glad to have you with me.
It's not just the last week, Etienne.
I know. It's been like all 25 years of your life, Patrick.
Yep, before those films even came out and that line had happened.
You were in the womb
saying it with a bat in one hand bent at a 45-degree angle.
Because it is your body.
And skates. But I'm glad you have watched this with me, enjoyed this. Well, we didn't watch it together, but you enjoyed it and experienced the whole thing. And Join us next time for another dive into some cool anime subject. Oh, dude, we should end it instead of with the normal ending music. We should end it with Paranoia Agent's closing theme song.
No.
Come
Fuck
on.
yourself.